before we hit the last question, and we still have a lot to get to for the future, so I really look forward to the second interview because we knew Japan and the pandemic and Ring of Honor, and there's championship wrestling we barely touched on. And I'm sure there's a lot of interesting stuff you could go on with David Marquez and championship wrestling. And before we get to the last question, I did want to ask about the end of PWG because that was pretty much it. Did you expect a callback? I mean, again, you talk about not really having expectations, and that's kind of your style. Did you think, though, there was a hope for another callback at that point, or were you kind of expecting, hey, whatever comes, I'm glad I had these opportunities, and that's it?
So I think it was more along those lines for me. I felt that it's at the end of the match with Andy, and I haven't watched it back in a long time, but the last time I did, I want to say that I liked the match, that I enjoyed the match. But like on the back of that, it wasn't like we finished and there was no please come back chant. I don't believe there was a big both these guys. I think we got the.
So it was a good match, but not necessarily career making.
Correct. So I don't think it was a bad match at all. I also don't know if it was the best match Andy and I ever had. It wasn't bad. Once again, I feel we only had good matches together, which means I'm probably forgetting some that were terrible. But it was a good match. Like I said, it was a good, solid match. I just don't know if it was for that position. So when it ended, did I want a callback? Absolutely. I would have said I would be happy if if when we get off the call here, I check my phone and I have that email all over again. That would be lovely.
Super Jack and reach out,
Oh yeah. Say, hit me up. I don't know. Is this a thing kids do?
I'm 31 at this point, but I have the social awareness of like a 40-year-old. I don't know what's hip anymore. I don't think I ever did, but I especially don't now.
I feel the same way most of the time. But like to give you a proper answer, I would have loved, and I'd still very much like to get that call back. But was I hopeful? Like, would I have hoped something to have happened? Yes. But again, I wasn't expecting it. And I don't think it was just that match. I just, once again, think I think they were also, they take some time off before they ended up at the Globe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I want to say.
That sounds right. It's hard for me to remember. I can remember the most minuscule details sometimes about like a random Raw in like 1995, but then you ask me what happened a year ago, and I'm like, I don't know.
Hey, Dad, like one of my friends tells me, say if I start talking about some matches, even matches that were decades ago, if I start talking about it, sometimes I can recall like full sequences that we did.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ask me like what I did 20 minutes ago, like if I was at work, no idea. Sure. Solid question. I would also like an answer.